everyone, I'm Tzayla, and welcome back to Off Key and On Pitch, your backstage pass to the unfiltered world of music. Today I'm talking to a wonderful duo from New Hampshire, the Low Stakes Band. In this conversation, Colville Ann Holbrook and I dig deep into how they found their voice, why honesty matters more than polish, and how to write songs that actually mean something, even if they make people feel uncomfortable. So if you've ever struggled with how to be real in your art, this episode is for you, so let's get into it. Welcome, Eric and Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tzayla. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I always love to start these podcasts off by asking my guests a little bit about their story, you know, how they got started in music and everything they've done so far.
All right, why don't you start?
Oof. This all started, never mind, I won't go that far back. Well, Ann and I'll start with Ann and I, we can go back from there. But when I first moved up here, I was in Massachusetts for a while. And when I first moved up here, I didn't know anybody. So I thought, I will just go for broke and stick an ad in Craigslist of all places, expecting to find nothing. But I kind of just said, this is exactly what I want, and I don't want this, and I don't want that. And if someone replies, that would be great.
And so I was in a couple of different projects that were winding down a little bit, and so I started to browse through Craigslist, also just because I like to see what people are looking for, what's going on out there. And I saw Eric's ad, and it said, looking for a female harmony singer with a low voice who harmonizes naturally. No sopranos need apply, or something like that. And I thought, wow, interesting. And I knew it was original music, and I was interested after playing with some cover bands, essentially, in doing original music again. So I wrote to Eric and said, I am exactly what you're looking
and
for.
She was.
And so he sent me some music.
Yeah.
Of course, the first thing I wanted to know is, do I even like these songs? And I loved them. And so I wrote back right away and said, wow, it's true. This is great. I'd love to work with you. So we've been working on songs for about like a year and a half, something like that. Yeah.
That was.
Yeah. And then in terms of background, I mean, we are both fanatic music lovers. You know, I've been in love with rock and pop and country and Americana and Broadway and everything since I was just a little kid. I always sang, played piano, little guitar, harmonized in the car. My daughters would say to me, Mom, stop harmonizing.
You want those that harmonized Happy Birthday?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
George Carlin warned against it.
I know, he warned against a lot of things. Yeah. What about you?
So, yeah, my background was I just really wanted to be a guitar player. And I finally got a gig as a harmony singer in a wedding band.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I'll work my guitar, and they have no idea, which I did. I found a lot of neat little parts to play, and I did my job singing the third harmony. Then I got into a blues band, which I thought was really a step up. I was actually playing in a bar for nothing. In the wedding band, I was actually making money. But to be working in a
typical musician,
right, to be in a gritty bar, making no money, I felt like, yeah, I'm doing it now. And then somewhere along the whole blues trajectory, I wrote a few songs that, worked in the blues world. And then I started writing a couple that kind of didn't, And I sort of forced them on the band. It didn't really work. Until I had so many that I thought, I should probably try to make my own band and do these songs. And, one thing led to another. And I actually had a band that we did our own first original gig. And next thing, that's all I did for them, another 10, 20 years after that. So, one band to another, and write more songs, new band, move, just, trying to keep going.
Yeah. And the fact that Eric had to do a third harmony, that we love to try to figure out harmonies together. We try a lot of different things. So we were a pretty natural fit. I mean, the voices blended well, and I loved the songs. And I, too, don't care about any sort of pure genre, having to sing in a particular genre. So it worked.
I love that. It's just the way it comes together, specifically because the Craigslist ad, and now you're all, you're working together, and it's just like a perfect fit. That's a great way to meet somebody. I love that. So you guys, I just forgot my question. Your name, the Low Stakes Band. Is there a story behind that? That's a very unique name.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. It kind of. Like a lot of things, almost like songs happen this way often. You catch yourself saying something that is interesting. So the short version is we were getting ready for a show, trying to get a new song that we kind of didn't have time for, and I don't know about this if we're really ready for this. And it was like, well, look, not a big deal if we don't do it. And the stakes could not be lower, And then it's sort of like, what are the low stakes? And that kind of works.
Yeah, and we kind of spun it.
Yeah.
You get to a certain point in life where you realize that a lot of things that seemed really important and really like life-changing are not actually all that important or that different. And that's so it's when we say we're the low stakes, and we care about what's important, you could say. So it's ironic in a lot of ways, because actually the stakes for loving what you do are very, very high, but also to approach it with the sense of doing it for its own sake and not because it's going to get you something else.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's a little convoluted, but...
Well, there's also, I think we also think that, we live in the first world where at the top of the food chain, we can actually worry about music and make music. And, the rest of the world, there are people starving, people dying. You feel like, we're very, very lucky, So in the grand scheme of things, it's really nothing, and I'm just happy that we can do it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's like the journey, they say the journey is better than the destination.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, we keep going that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do we keep going if it's only a journey?
Exactly. I heard this quote once. They said that a man with no destination in mind will walk farther than any man who had one.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, and that's an insight that gets refreshed all the time, I have found.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it's on your hat. It says the low stakes on your
It
hat.
does. Yes, it does.
Oh my gosh. That's
yes,
amazing.
we have merch. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've worn it at various gigs this summer.
Doesn't she look good in it, too?
Thank
She
you.
really does.
Thank
I like
you.
your hat, too. That's a great hat as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Only one of them is shamelessly self-promoting. So.
Hey, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah.
But you guys talk about rejecting, I think the word you used was sanitized songwriting. Well, what does sanitized mean to you, and how can young artists, recognize when they're falling into that trap as well?
Well, I don't know that we so much avoid sanitized songwriting as that we don't worry about it, I mean, there's a couple lines that I put in that I realize are the line that I want, and people may find not so, not PC or careful enough. I mean, there's one song in my song Afraid to Dance, one line that I don't do when there's kids around, like a festival or something. I just feel like, it's a reference to suicide. I'm just not going to go there. I just drop out a few words. I've gotten good at it, getting my spot again. But, I don't like, there's the old God darn that I have in one song, and it's just like, it's the right thing to say. I'm not trying to be using any swear words, but it just is the exact feeling of frustration that I have. It's in 5 Days Over. I don't know how much you've heard of the album, but it's like in the first line, God darn telephone is the other word. But it just feels right. And, radio guys said, oh no, FCC. And it's like, with what's happening in the world today, is that really going to hurt anybody? I just feel like come on, we've lost our way.
Yeah, and the best songs tell stories, right? They always have. Like, old country music is brilliant because it tells stories. Hank Williams knows how to sing his pain, right? And so I think that these songs often express feelings that, you might not be proud of necessarily, or that don't necessarily express wisdom, but express what you really think and feel as you go through life. And I think that's, if it's not authentic like that, it's not going to come off well.
I think if something feels authentic to me, you're singing it, or if you write it and it really feels authentic, I always believe that it will be authentic to someone else. And it's not that I'm a master of making authentic things, but I think when you're true to yourself, it's true to other people, because we're all kind of the same, really, at some deeper levels. I believe that as long as I had a song that I did before that I was afraid to perform because I thought it was too revelatory, and I finally got the nerve to perform it, and I would see it actually affect people. So it was a good lesson for me to realize if you feel almost like you're eavesdropping on yourself, then maybe that's the right song you should do. Because that's what people, because then it resonates with other people as well.
Yeah, we were just talking about this, in fact, that his song Philadelphia, which is the one that's going to come out very soon from our record, is an evocation of childhood and what it's like to go back to the place where you were raised. And we started telling each other stories from our childhoods and said, yeah, when you write about how you felt to see past the giant tree with the peeling bark, like I can think of trees in my childhood that I returned to. And
did it have peeling bark?
Yeah, it didn't have peeling bark that I could climb it. And, like we exchanged stories about, playing with matches, to put it politely, that we both
shared. We both started fires.
Yeah, we did. Right, when we were kids. Nobody was hurt and nothing terrible happened, but still it was, we were young and stupid and it could have been bad. And I think a lot of people, whether they have that exact memory, then go off on memories of their own.
Yeah, you always tend to project your own story upon the ones you listen to. It's why so many people relate with books and movies and so many songs out there.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's why I didn't really like MTV, actually. When it first came out, I made a point not to watch it. Because I was realizing if I saw a song first there, it preempted my imagery that I would apply to a song. And I like mine better. Now I see, those guys riding on a sailboat. And it's like I want my own imagination to find my own little story. As long as I had it first, then I could see it later. But I didn't want to see a song debut on MTV.
Yeah, I often say to people younger than I am, when they'll say, well, did you see the video for this song, as if that's the experience of the song? And I say, no, I don't watch videos. I listen to music. Right? And again, I'm willing to be a little old-fashioned about this, but that the imagination that people get from picturing what the words tell them is really important.
I agree. That's one of my favorite things of music. It can take you somewhere you didn't think you could go beforehand. The amount of epiphanies I've had from listening to music is insane.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I know too many artists, though, that they'll be terrified to write their stories because they don't feel like anyone's going to relate to it. They don't think anyone's going to want to hear it if they're putting their personal details in, so they water down their song or they change it entirely. What would you say to that person that's doing that?
What I just said earlier, if it scares you a little bit and you feel like you're really delving into you really and being authentic about it, that's exactly where you should aim. Because that is going to be, again, I think we're more the same than different. So if it feels intense to you and revelatory and like you're dropping in on private information, someone else feels exactly the same way. So that's exactly the kind of song you should go for. And should chase.
And that's what great art does. To get a little bit lofty here for a second. I mean, the great songs are the ones that do that, and if they play it safe, their music isn't going to be great.
Yeah, you can hear the authenticity, I think, in the voice, especially in the way you deliver the song.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people tell me that before with some songs, because they know the story behind some songs. They're like, oh, I can't hear the emotion in that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. You tell a lot of stories in your songs. What is probably one of your favorite songs you've written? My favorite story behind one of the songs you've written?
Well, you want to talk about Philadelphia a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Since we're talking, Philadelphia is the one that's going to be released on Spotify tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The reason I planned this for today. Basically, when my parents got divorced, I kind of had to make some difficult decisions quickly. And I decided to leave Philadelphia and kind of leave behind that world. And, because of the strife involved with that, I didn't go back for many years. So when I came back, I recognized that there were things I really loved about it, and I really felt a connection to it. And, down to the accents of the people, the taste of the water. I like to say, the ugly weeds by the side of the highway and the dust, it all had a certain look that I knew and could feel. And every time I went back, I had this sort of kind of a mixed feeling of longing and regret. And did I make the right decision? And, it can't be it's sort of the path you didn't travel and you wonder, should you have done it? You never can actually know. So Philadelphia, the song is really dealing with that. And I think I probably wrote that song like 5 times and could never quite get to where I want it to be. I could never feel it. Mm-hmm. And when I finally got that one, the present version, it's one that I've said before, when I sang it the first couple of times, I had a hard time getting through it. I kind of got a little choked up, like I just said. I know I've got it now because I'm feeling the emotion of it myself. Regardless of where you're from, I think if you spent your childhood, you were born there maybe, and you spent time, there's a connection there's a connection to place. Sam Shepard would agree, and so would a lot of these various literature people who have put a lot of thought into place, and I think that's kind of what that song's about.
That's beautiful. Is that line, "The Taste of the Water," is that in that song?
No, I could have. I think one of my versions had that in there, actually.
Really?
And I tried so many things, and I didn't. It's
well, the song is spare. I mean, I think a lot of the songs are that way. They do more with less. I would say, just a few images that create a lot. Again, that "Past the Giant Tree with a Peeling Bark" was what Philadelphia was one of the first songs I listened to in lyrics, and I just loved it because again, it made me think of my childhood. And I think of the song "Never Learn," which is also on the record.
Right.
Seems I never learned, and we can all think about that. And there are particular stories that we could all tell about. Oh, I can't believe I just made that mistake again, and I'm only now seeing it. But I don't know the particular story behind that one. But maybe you don't want to tell that one.
Do you want to hear it, Tzayla? I mean, I don't know how much time you have. I don't want to monopolize.
Go for it.
I mean, "Never Learn" is actually turned the other way. Like, I will never learn to think like that. It was sort of a defiant sort of feeling.
That's
that,
good.
I am never going to learn to accept these things that are being put before me.
Yeah.
And so, and the middle bridge is literally, I basically outlined Nuremberg, saying, just because I was told to do it doesn't mean I'm gonna, and I believe that, you gotta cling to your own thing, which is right, and regardless of the price of it, So the never learn is not. I'm not going to learn. I refuse to learn this stuff. Stuff. It's got an sh, right? Stuff. Yeah. Whew, almost.
How do you go about writing your songs? Do you have a certain process you follow?
Yes, I love to say this story. Strum and mumble. I strum and I think about things, and I play little things, and I think about what's going on in my life, and I just start throwing words out there. And often, though, it comes from something I'll hear in the car. I'm driving in the car, and something about a car, part of your brain's being occupied by driving it, hopefully. And it seems to freeze something else out. I think I've gotten more good song ideas in a car. To the point I've gone driving to get ideas. Because it seems to clear up something. And it's often something I say. Like, I'll literally say out loud a phrase which will become a song. So I talk to myself a lot for that purpose. I walk around my eyes, see that people think I'm talking to myself.
And you've got a lot of songs we have new songs that are in the works, some that have already been recorded, where like the exact melody or the harmonies or the words are still getting worked out. So, I mean, some songs come out pretty quickly, some don't.
Some drop out, literally as fast as I can write.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia took me 20 years.
Yeah.
So, everything in between. But I don't really have a process. I see it like a big clam. You just suck in as much as you can, read, watch things, go places, and somehow it all filters through and something comes out the other side. God knows how. If I knew how, I would do it more. I don't know how to do it.
What do you hope people feel when they listen to your music? Like Philadelphia, for example.
I don't know. It sounds kind of, I don't mean to be cruel, but I don't really care. It's cathartic for me. I wrote it for me, and like I said before, I believe that if I feel something, they will. And I never think, how are people going to feel when they hear this? It's just not, it's not part of my thought process. So I imagine though. How did you feel? I mean,
Well, I
you're a
think
person.
what I would say is that we would want them to feel the feeling behind it and then think of how they experience that again. I mean,
in their own life.
In their own life. I mean, we have so many differences, but being human is more alike than not, right? You know, people in a very different place of different ages and who speaking different languages still live life in so many ways that they can't avoid. We all eat, we all sleep, we all get older. We have family members.
I don't get it.
No, of course not. Of course not. But so I think I can feel it. For instance, when we perform that song live, and others, I can see it in people's faces that they're thinking of something. And often, like when I'm listening to a song, often a particular line will hit me, and then I'll stop listening to the rest of the song as I think about that line. And that's why I love the fact that while music happens, you know, right in time, you can go back and listen to it again. And people will come up after shows and say, you know, that song you sang with that line, and we know exactly what they're talking about. So, because there are certain ways in which we know people are going to react.
What would you say to artists who are trying to become marketable and write commercial music for other people to hear? I know you already said, like, write something, it seems like you're eavesdropping on yourself. But is there any other little tidbit you might have in that area?
Well, you don't see it on this record. It's on records that are coming, but I think there's a fair amount to learn. I'll talk a little musician-ish here, not too much, but you know, we all kind of do 1, 4, 5 songs, you know, C, G, D, A minor, you know, getting out there, throw an F major 7 in. But you know, there are some cool things to learn about modulations to other keys and relative minors and relative, you know, parallel minors and majors that can lead you to, like, I've learned a lot, strangely enough, from like Duran Duran. You know, I don't see them as an influence, but I realized some of those songs have a cool little change. What did they do there? You know, and I suss it out and figure it out. So if you can get out of, I mean, if you're doing straight country, it's going to be 3 chords and the truth. I get it. And that's fine, you know, on the same theme. I should say modern country. I mean, the girl is dancing on the tailgate at the bonfire down by the creek, you know.
In a white tank top.
In a drink, yeah, right. And we're drinking beer, you know, which is kind of its own thing. But I've been lately getting sick of just being in the diatonic chord progression. And a lot of things, you can slip out of that and find some ins and outs and some weird chords that maybe don't go together typically. I think it adds some interest to the ear. So I've been doing a lot of that.
And I think musicians hear music as music. So a lot of bands and songs that snobs might call just stupid pop, of course, have survived, like the Monkees, right? Which when they started were just teeny bopper band, right? And now people recognize how great those songs were and how good that is. So I think a song that is boring will always be boring, and it will be boring if it tries to stick only to a formula. And I do think contemporary country, for instance, is guilty of that. I think a lot of contemporary hip hop is, you know, a big guilty of that as well. But I listen to every song individually on its own. Like I would almost never come to a band or an artist and think, oh, I know that this is just going to be marketable stuff. You know, I'll give it a listen and you know, that's why I love albums, right? That an album that has a sense of beginning, middle, and end that hangs together. Well, yeah, and that you're going to find gems on those, and then there are going to be songs you're just not going to listen to because it's not going to.
Now we're in the playlist one.
Yeah, true. It's different.
I agree with that. Yeah, songs are getting a little repetitive these days.
You know, you need some repetition because you can just lose people completely. I mean, you need to give them something to hang on to. I mean, I don't usually think about this that much, but I think I'm guilty of being, you know, subjected to years and years of pop music and hits. So, you know, it kind of starts to sink into you whether you like it or not, unless you really want to be so different. So I'm different. Nobody likes my music, so I'm, well, okay.
And we love pop music.
Yeah,
I mean, and that covers a lot of genres.
Really, I find some of these songs that are, you know, theoretically bubblegum pop really clever. You know, have really interesting ideas. And God forbid I get snobby about it. You know, I just don't want to do it. I will say the thing about Philadelphia and the feeling thing, back to that, is I had to perform. I can do that cleaner if I separate it out. But I couldn't get it right unless I played guitar and sang it at the same time. I couldn't sing it right, or I couldn't play it right. I couldn't modulate the tempo, and I just couldn't. I wanted to do it. I tried to do a click and then come back and sing it, and it was never right. So I had to there's bleed over from my vocal mic to my guitar mic and verse vice, you know? Vice versa?
Vice versa.
Whatever. Verse vice word. And, you know, it's not perfect, but I think I captured the emotion of it more than had I done it in a more standard and perfect way.
I like that. I love that a lot, actually. Oh, I just got a notification from Zoom. Sorry. I lost my train of thought there. I agree with you on that. You know, recording that emotion is more important than I had a girl come into the studio one day with a song, and she just couldn't play it to the click track, and, you know, it didn't seem as natural and as flowable. Like it flowed the same way. Flowing as it would when she played it with the guitar and the vocal. Right. There's just a different feeling there. Similar to the feeling you get with like when you play the song live as well.
Well, exactly. And I always felt it good live, but I couldn't seem to do it in the studio. So I just did, I'm going to do it in a studio live. You know, so, and I think we're doing a lot more of that. I think our next album, which we're kind of working on, we're going to take it a lot more live. Yeah. Take some more takes, do it a different day. Don't worry about it. You know, the world of perfection has been perfected.
And it can sound like computerized.
You can't get more perfect anymore. It's all so perfect. So, I mean, how many great Beatles tracks, how many Simon and Garfunkel tracks are absolutely epic? And we're in a room doing them together, you know. And I've been in a studio a lot. I hear flat notes, I hear weird guitar stuff, but it doesn't matter because the song's good and the emotion's there. You know, I'm kind of done with dead perfection, really.
Yeah. That's a whole other topic, and we're running out of time. But one thing I always love to ask my guests though is what their dream is, like what they want to accomplish. Because there's always something else that we're working towards.
Well, my dream is to just do what I'm doing more. And,
there you go.
You know, I'm doing my dream, actually. You know, but I just want to be able to just take in information, write songs, and perform them. It'd be great to be in a bigger place in front of more people and have more people hear it and like it. But I'm doing it.
Yeah, and actually just doing the music, performing the music. I say this to younger musicians that I know. If your goal is always to be noticed and seen and heard for the sake of that, then you're doing it wrong. It should be the joy in just playing the music. So Eric and I get together pretty often, and we work on songs, but also just sing them. Fun is not even the right word, but just for the joy of it and to get them better. And the more we sing them, so that, as I like to say, it's like slipping on an old leather jacket. You know, we know it so well. We have sung it together enough times that it just melds, and we can then just keep growing with that. So it's writing new songs, but also just learning to experience the old ones fresh all the time.
And the more meld, the better.
Yeah.
I love that analogy so much, actually.
Oh, that was a good one, actually.
Yeah?
I like that
That's a great analogy, like a leather jacket.
Yeah. I have to admit somebody else gave me that analogy, but I loved it and I stole it.
You know, everyone steals everything.
We all steal. That's right.
Exactly. Well, how can people follow your journey, you know, listen to your music, listen to your new song?
Well, like you say, it's going to be on Spotify starting tomorrow. And we do have the lowstakesband.com, which is our website. And we will be on Bandcamp and all the streaming services and all of that. But we're also, you know, doing a lot more social media now. We're, you know, doing some stuff in the studio, outtakes, you know, just playing the song in a room together. So we're going to have more stuff on social media. So, you know, keep an eye on your, what do you call it? Keep an eye on your, what's not Facebook, the other one?
Instagram.
Keep an eye on your Instagram, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're kind of a little behind on that stuff, and we're catching up on it now. So we're constantly thinking of new ways to stand over here and do this and say that.
Yeah, and we are a fresh iteration of this music. A lot of these songs have been around for a while. They've been recorded in other ways by other musicians. So we're we're still just getting started, and so there will be more to come.
We're trying to build a core of our vocal sound first, and not. Hold on, try. We got a dog here.
Yes.
No.
There's Charlie.
Yeah.
He
mine's right here sleeping too.
He's the studio.
Always good to have a
studio.
Always.
Yeah.
But I've always felt like if you have that vocal core and that kind of vocal, this real understanding with the main singers of the song, we're going to add pieces later that will not necessarily be part of the band. I mean, if it works out really good and we get along with it, we're not against that. But we're thinking more of like, this will be a core and we'll build around it as we need. I have too many songs that are sitting around that need drums and need bass. I'm going to be playing only the kind of acoustic-y ones,
Yeah.
So I'm really a bit hamstrung. We still have a ton, but I have a ton more if we can play, if we have all the musicians.
And it is a journey, to use your words. Like we don't know exactly where this is going to go. This is where we are right now, but constant enrichment of what there is, and then creation of new songs.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been
Thank
a great
you for
show.
having me.
Thank you, Zen.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, talking with the Low Stakes Band is like being reminded that music isn't supposed to be something safe. It's supposed to be true. Here are a few things that stood out to me. First, don't water yourself down. Eric and Ann made it so clear. The minute you start sanding down your edges just to fit, just to be liked, just to sound marketable, you lose the heartbeat of your art. And I'll be honest with you, I've written songs before that have offended people, songs that made some folks uncomfortable. But here's the thing, as my dog runs behind me very loudly, here's the thing. I wasn't going to apologize for how I felt in that moment. That's what the song was for, to hold what I couldn't say aloud, to let the melody carry the weight of it all. And I think some of you need the reminder, you don't have to apologize for feeling something deeply enough to put it in a song. Second, music is a way to tell stories that are messy and complicated and full of life. The Low Stakes reminded us of that beautifully. One moment where you're wrestling with heartbreak, the next you're laughing at the absurdity of life. And isn't that what we're all doing? Music is the place we get to hold that grief, that joy, that rage and the laughter, the longing and the love. It's that one space where we don't have to clean it up or make it palatable. And as artists, we've got to protect that space, to be authentic, not polished for the sake of being liked, not diluted to be safe enough for the playlist, but honest enough that someone hears it and says, finally, that's exactly how I feel too. So if you take anything away from this episode, let it be this. Don't change your story to be more marketable. Don't apologize for the emotion that drove you to write. Don't soften your edges just to fit into somebody else's box. Be fully you, unfiltered, messy, beautiful you, and let the songs say what they need to say. Because polite art fades, but the songs that bleed, the ones that risk honesty, they're the ones that live on. If you want to keep up with the Low Stakes Band, you can visit their website at lowstakesband.com, and don't forget to follow them on Instagram and check out their new single, Philadelphia, as well. You can find me and my music at Tzayla.com, Tzayla.com, as well as more episodes just like this one. And if this episode challenged you to stop second-guessing yourself and start writing with courage, share it with other music people that need this reminder too. At the end of the day, music is how we all tell our stories, how we express the things words alone can't hold, and the world doesn't need our polished product. The world needs your song, so keep writing and keep dreaming big. I'm Tzayla, and adventure sounds like this.